Hi, it's me again. I'm back with another video, and today's video is going to be about season 3 of Heartstopper. So, previously I did watch season 1 and season 2, and I binged them, and I watched them again, and now season 3 is out, so I just finished watching that. I was hoping they would make the seasons longer, but the episodes are longer, but it's still only 8 episodes. So I finished it in like a couple hours because I was watching it on double speed on my laptop. The season is very good. So I already read the webtoon up until I think this point. I don't know if there's any chapters past the 3rd season. I know Alice probably hasn't had time to get to it. But basically, the 3rd season is about the. Oh, sorry, I should review first. So, first, Heartstopper is like a UK show, like filmed in the fictional Truham High School and or prep school, however you call it. It's in the UK. And there's this boy, his name is Charlie. Charlie is gay. Charlie is like always known he's gay, but he ended up being outed by this guy who he was dating before. And since that guy outed him, he ended up being bullied. Now, this show doesn't like go in depth to show traumatic scenes, which I truly appreciate because we have enough like trauma porn for LGBT stories, LGBTQIA stories. So they basically do like a kind of shadowing and cool art effects. I'm going to include clips if I can. And yeah, then one day, like he's just starting his new year. I think he's a sophomore at this point, and he's in his like prep class, his prior class. I don't know what they call it in the UK. So he's with this boy. His name is Nick, and they're sat next to each other, and they have this cute little thing that they do where they both say hi. So there's like the butterfly effects or like, just instant connection effects. And, he's not sure if he's queer or not. Because, they weren't really talking about bisexuality at this point because, they're young, so they only really know about like straight, gay. At the same time, they have a friend named Elle. Elle is trans, and Elle has come out and she's transferred to the girls' school because Trim is a boys' school. I mean, I think it has girls, but it's mostly boys. Or do they have girls? Because I know that Imogen, is she a Trim student? I don't know. I'll look into it. I'll put a caption if she is or not. But basically, they are like a cast of outcasts. There's Isaac, there's Tao, there was Elle, and Charlie, and they were all friends. But Elle has now gone to another school. Tao is their other friend who has a bit of a odd attachment style. His dad has passed away, so he's like very like desperate to keep people close to him, and he wants their friend group to be very, very tight, but he does things in a roundabout way that aren't very conductive to like healthy conversations, which is something that he grows on throughout the series. Then there's Isaac. Isaac is the Ace Arrow character who I see so much of my younger self in. Just Ace Arrow, books, 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 only books. I wasn't Ace or Arrow, but I was definitely having some repressed sexuality things going on. So there's Isaac and then Charlie. So now that we're back to Charlie, the school year continues. Him and Nick keep talking more and more and more. Nick ends up finding out like Charlie is being like harassed by his ex. Or his current boyfriend, but he's trying to break things off with him. This guy's abusive. He's like always threatening Charlie. He's like in the closet and he feels ashamed about his sexuality, so he's trying to make Charlie feel the same way. Oh my gosh, I didn't turn my flash on. Let me turn on my light. I just forgot. There we go. Okay. So he is very like ashamed of his sexuality and he's trying to project that onto Charlie. So there are several fights that go on. He's very abusive. He's very ashamed of being with Charlie. So some things happen and they end up breaking up. Then, Nick is there. Nick eventually gets Charlie to participate in the rugby team and they continue to build their bond through that. Like Charlie is like a very skinny boy, which is foreshadowing because Charlie does have an ED. It's been hinted at like throughout the whole series. I think it's more emphasized like from the 2nd episode onward, but you don't have to be very bright to notice that that's what's going on. It's something that he hides very well. He also has a self-harm situation that he is working on. So moving on, they end up like going on a bunch of dates, hanging out, and everybody's like starting to realize they're like, hey, oops, I kicked my camera. They're like, Charlie, maybe he does like you, maybe he is queer, maybe he is LGBT, because the way that he's interacting with you is like very different. Now the problem with Nick is like he's friends with a bunch of like the lad types, as they say, who are like very like his het and cis and homophobic. So he invites them, like Charlie, to go out with him to meet his friends. They treat Charlie poorly. He leaves. So he's frustrated because Charlie left. So then because it was like a movie hangout. So he calls out his friends and he's like, this is not how you treat people. This is not right. whatever. So he's like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Like, you guys suck. Now, not all of them are like that, but they do have a little bit of follower mentality. So since this guy's like rich and cool, they don't want to say anything because they had already gone to a party before and like kindled things. I think this was before or after. I should rewatch season one. It's been a few months. And they like ended up holding it. No, this happens after. So then they go to the party because the guy, the bully, I'll put his picture up. He's a good guy in real life. He just does a really good job at his role. And so is the ex-boyfriend, the abusive ex. They're both like really nice people from what I've seen on interviews. It just shows how good they are at acting since they make it so believable. Anyway, so after this, he wants to make it up to Nick. He's like, Nick, I'm sorry. Like, well, he didn't say I'm sorry, but he said something adjacent to that. You know, he can't take accountability. So he's like, come to my birthday party. So he invites him and he's like, okay. So then he brings Charlie and they ended up getting separated all throughout the night. People find out that, Tara and her girlfriend at that time, this person is non-binary in real life, but the character that they play is not at this point. Darcy. Okay. So Darcy is going to come out later. So Darcy is like me, non-binary, but basically Tara and Darcy get outed because they're kissing. Well, it's not that they're outed. Like, they've been wanting to come out because like they've been together for a long time. They have the longest relationship in the story. They've been dating since before Charlie and Nick's story starts. So they end up, kissing at the party. It creates this whole thing where people are like, oh my gosh, they're gay. And Tara was scared to come out because one, she's like, I don't know if this is like the main thing, but like, Black women, they don't really get a lot of chances to express themselves in a romantic area. And like, she's considered like a popular, beautiful girl. Like, a lot of guys like her. She is beautiful. And they're like, oh, how can you be gay? Like, that's weird, da da da. So it's like a whole thing where, because they go to the all-girls school. So Tara, Darcy, and Elle, they're like, facing the blowback from that situation. And Tara's like having her doubts. It's not that she doesn't love Darcy or she doesn't want to be Darcy, but she's like one of those people who is like a people pleaser and needs like a lot of external validation. So when people start to question her, she starts to question herself and their relationship, which Darcy, it's good that she's very strong-headed because she pulls her back in. She's like, why do you care so much about what other people think? Like, just focus on us. Like, friends are important, da 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 da, but these people are not our friends. And I really like that. So moving on. After this, we switch back to Charlie and Nick, who are basically, running around away from each other, and they run into each other, and he goes to Charlie. They connect, have a cute little hand holding moment and a cute little kiss. And then basically his friends are coming. So he leaves Nick. I don't know why he did that. Sorry. He leaves Charlie, which he should not have done. He gave him like a cute little nickname and everything, so he was feeling very validated in that moment, and then he just left when he felt like they were gonna get caught. So it reminded him of his ex-boyfriend, basically like, oh, you're embarrassing me, you're ashamed of me, you want to hide. So yeah, that didn't go well. Then later they end up going to they end up going to the beach. The beach is like a really cute moment. They have like a date. They confirm that they like each other, and that's boyfriends, okay? So now moving on to season 2. Season 2 is all about their trip to Paris and finals and stuff. We see more of the relationship that Nick has with his parents, which is very good. Like, his mom in season 1 was very supportive of him and his sexuality. So basically the focus is like Nick's mom being supportive and there for him. His older brother, who is a dick, I'm pretty sure he's nice in real life. I have not followed the brother or noticed anything about him on social media, but his character sucks. And then the dad, who's like an absentee parent, who's only focused on chasing the bag, and that's just not very healthy relationship that he has with his 2 sons, which Nick becomes aware of slowly but surely throughout the duration of the trip, because he realizes his dad doesn't really care about him since he's always pushing things back. Like, at one point he was going to come out to his dad, but he realized like his dad just wasn't the type of person to come out to, not because maybe he was homophobic, but just because he wasn't really involved and likely didn't care about him as a person. So that was sad. And then at the same time, we see Nick is coming to terms with how, his father just doesn't give a fuck about him. And it's a sad story to see. At the same time, Tao and Elle are cultivating feelings. Darcy and Tara are getting closer in the sense that like Tara is actually willing to talk about her feelings and be proud of who she is and like out in that regard. Then they shift the narrative. Well, at the same time, all this stuff is going on at the same time. So everybody's building their relationships, and then Nick and Charlie are starting to get closer as well. They end up at this party. I think it was Darcy's birthday party. I'm not sure. But a bunch of people get drunk. It caused a lot of issues. Charlie is like, I'm ready to take the next step. Like, he's like, I want to have sex with Nick. Nick is like, what? No, I'm not ready for that. Like, I like you, but like, I'm still young, I'm innocent. It was a cute little scene because it just shows that like everybody develops at a different pace and not everybody's going to be ready. And if you love and respect your partner, you'll wait for them, which is what Charlie does. But Charlie also has like a lot of issues with his ideation and self-harm. So Nick is like trying to come around that, because the issue with Nick, and it's addressed in season 3, which I'm very happy about, is because like his mom is so loving and stable, but his dad doesn't really give a lot about him. Like, he feels like he doesn't have a purpose without his relationship. So it touches on the codependence in that aspect. So continuing on, they, end up coming out to all their friends, which, everybody already kind of knew, but they come out and they're like, we're together, da 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 da. And at the end, they have the sports day. They run around. It's really cute. Then moving on to season 3, which is like the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk to. I'm so happy that I finally got here. So season 3 starts off with Nick and Charlie and everybody. They're all together. They're hanging out. They're doing like basic friend things, and just talking about like how the whole summer has been like a summer for love for all of them, because they weren't really focused on the relationship. Because I meant to talk about this. Last year, she got accepted into like a prep college school for art, which has a lot of queer people there, and it's really healthy for her, and she's very happy about that, which Tao is afraid of because he has a very strong fear of abandonment. Like, he thinks like if Elle starts to progress anything in her personal life, like she's going to leave him and never come back. So he's very anxious about that, which is understandable. But Elle, throughout the season, is trying to figure out how can she explain to him that like she's not going to abandon him, but it's only so much that she can do. So they work on their relationship in that aspect. This season, everybody is also having sex, which is crazy because like Darcy and Tara were technically the only ones who were up until this point. They didn't really show it. Yeah. Yeah, so they have the summer romance. Tao is trying really, really hard. He's doing like unique dates every day until Elle goes away for her college thing. Yeah, he needed to calm down. It was a lot. Her college prep. They had conversation about that later in the season. Okay, so Tara and Darcy, they're dealing with stuff because at the end of last season, I forgot to talk about this. Darcy's parents are like very emotionally abusive. I don't know about physical. They didn't really show that, but it just shows that they're very homophobic and not willing to accept Darcy for who she is at this point. And yeah, the story just keeps progressing. They focus back on Nick. His relationship with his mom and dad keep getting expanded upon. His dad is like very much like non-confrontational, and his mom is very controlling, and they do have a conversation at the end of the season to talk about that, but she just doesn't want him to do anything because yeah, whatever. And at this point, sorry, everybody is like hanging out, they're doing their stuff. Charlie's eating disorder is getting worse, so once again, Nick being who he is, he's doing research, he's trying to figure it out. So they end up at the beach again, and Charlie is wanting to tell Nick how he feels, that he loves him, and Nick wants to address Charlie and the eating disorder thing because he notices how much worse it's getting. Because during the Paris trip, I forgot to mention this as well, Charlie ended up passing out because of how much he wasn't eating and how much stress he was under. So yeah, it just shows like the severity and how it's getting worse. It's not something that he can control. So Nick brings it up to him. The timing was a little bit weird, but he's a kid at this point, like not in real life, but the character is a kid. So obviously he's not thinking about things thoroughly, and he's just like, okay, I'll do this. So he tells Charlie like, hey, I think you have an eating disorder. Obviously, Charlie denies it. Oh, I forgot to mention, Nick was on a trip with his aunt and his uncle during the vacation. So he left for a few weeks after this point. So he's with his aunt. His aunt is a psychiatrist, so he's asking her types of questions that he can have and what he can prep for to talk to Charlie, and how to, just ask him the questions that he needs to ask him to be the support that he needs for him. So yeah, the next episode is about the holiday and how that's progressing, all the relationships. Charlie is slowly regressing into his shell more and more and more. He's becoming more and more shy since Nick has left to be with his aunt and uncle. Nick is, steady worried about Charlie. They're trying to contact each other. Charlie's mom is getting more and more agitated because she's like, you're focusing too much on Nick. What about your grades? Because Nick is like an average student, and Charlie is like a very advanced student, as well as Tara. Like, they're, I guess, the top of their class type energy. So the teachers have like a lot of pressure and expectations on them. Both of them don't really handle it that well, you'll notice. Yeah, so Nick is coming back at this point. So he spent the holiday vacations with his family, and things are progressing at different paces for everybody. I think at this point, yeah. So at this point, he comes back. He tries to talk to Charlie again, And Charlie admits it. He's like, yes, I do have an eating disorder. And he's like, I want to help you. But once again, like, I'm just a child. Same thing that his aunt told him, like, you're a 16-year-old boy. Like, what can you really do in this situation? Like, there's not much that you can help him with, and it shouldn't be your burden. So Charlie comes to terms with that, and he says, yeah, I want to get help. He doesn't know how to get help because, once again, his mom's personality, he's afraid that they won't believe him and they'll think that he's lying, which is something that a lot of people with mental illness struggle with, because it's like, what if I am faking it? Because, if you look at any of the resources, they're like, oh, if you're depressed, just be happy. Oh, just try harder. So a lot of people have that mentality. He wasn't sure if his parents did. Luckily, they didn't. They tried their best. The conversations aren't as extreme as they were in the webtoon, I think, because they know that the show is like more good feels and they don't want to like bring up that trauma. But compared to the webtoon, like when this scene was happening, he was really, really in a bad place, and the mom was calling and was talking about like, my son is gonna die and you guys are still denying him care. That was not mentioned in the show, which I think is a good thing, because they don't want to like trigger their fan base, because a lot of people watch this as a comfort show. So any traumatic stuff that happens, they're going to like not glaze over, but they're going to show just enough and then like censor out the severe part of it. So yeah, he goes with Charlie to talk to his parents. Sorry, when I say he, Nick goes with Charlie to talk to the parents. They're like, oh, why is Nick here? Is late? Because mom keeps accusing them of having sex or whatever, and they're not. And she doesn't really like trust that he can control himself or his impulses. So he like gets approval to have sex, which that happens later. It's really weird. The parents are like way too caring about this. I mean, like, as long as your kids having safe sex, just be quiet. Okay, so basically, they continue, they have the talk, and the parents are like, okay, we're going to do what we can. So Charlie is now taken to a separate clinic because his parents have enough money to support it, which is something that they bring up. So he goes to get private care because the public care sector will take several months, and they're worried that he's going to waste away by then. So he goes to this place. It's a really good place. They have all the psychological support. They have the therapist. They have psychiatrists, everything there to make sure he is going to be set up for success. They give him good training habits. They show the progress between him not wanting to eat at all to him eating a little bit, and then eventually him eating with other people. So it's like really good, healthy progress that shows like he can have sustainable stuff, but they do set up a realistic expectation that he's not going to be successful throughout the whole thing, because shortly after that, Nick, being the boyfriend that he is, he really wants to support Charlie, and he has like, Nick asks like to come visit, and he's like, okay. And then eventually, once he makes enough progress, he's like, you can tell the other friends to call me. So he asks for Tao's number. He tells Tao. Tao's like very like upset, because he's like, how did I recognize this? How did I see it? But he's like, we wouldn't know because I hide it very well, which is true. Like, a lot of people, when they have like addictions or like eating disorders or things like that, they hide it very, very well until the point that they can't. So Tao and the rest of the friend group, they all get informed by Nick, because Charlie's like, you can tell them. So they make him a beautiful little video and a gift box, and Nick comes to deliver the gift box and show the video that Tao made, and it made Charlie very, very happy. Shortly after that, they end up leaving. Yeah. During this time, Nick learns how to drive, and Tara is like trying to balance her life between like her relationship with Darcy, the commute, because once again, poor infrastructure. That's the thing in America and certain places in the UK have in common, and also his driving. So they're trying to prepare for colleges, and he doesn't know what he should do because he's not sure if he has time for his relationship if he has to commute. So he wants to go to school locally, but that's not really what he wants. He just wants to satisfy Charlie in that way. Okay, so then we move on to the sex episode, where pretty much, everybody's having a party. Charlie is still away. He's still at the place. And, Tao and Elle end up having sex. Tao and Elle end up having sex. And it makes like, I don't know, it was hard for her at first, because they did show this previously, like, since she is trans, like, she has a different identity with her body and like what makes her comfortable. So they don't show us what they talk about, but it's like foreshadow that like they're going to have like an intimacy conversation, which they do off screen, which I think is very appropriate, because each trans person has different boundaries for like what they want to do in a sexual way. So it's good that they didn't say like, oh, this is the standard. Like, they just said, oh, this is between us, we'll keep it off camera, which I appreciate it. And the next one, they end up having sex at this party, and everybody's just having a party. They're having a good time. Nick is like a little bit flustered because like Charlie isn't there for him. It's not that Charlie isn't there for him. He wants Charlie to be there, because once again, like, most of his validation comes from Charlie. So it creates like this weird internal dynamic where he's at a deficit because he's not sure what he can do or what will make him happy. So Imogen is also like experimenting. She ends up kissing her friend Sahar at the party, which, Imogen, she's realizing like she might be like not straight, which is very good because, it was kind of obvious, like her personality, that she was doing most things for male validation. So she did have that conversation with Nick, but it also made things with her relationship with Sahar weird because apparently they've been friends since they were kids, and I didn't know about that. I guess it was like shoehorned in, or maybe whatever. Maybe I didn't pay attention to the context clues, but she's like, the reason I discovered I'm bi is because of you. So like what you did was like really strangeful, and I feel so bad for Sahar in that moment. So then next thing, we're moving on to the tinting episode. So at this point, Charlie comes home. Everybody's really happy. They miss each other and they hang out, they relax, and everything is Ella's going viral on social media for her art. So that's like a big storyline. Like, once again, remember, they're all just kids, and I think it's really good the way that they showed this. So since trans identity is something that's being debated weirdly as like a political thing about like grooming children or whatever, so they lie to her to get her to come to this interview saying it's about art, but then they bring up a bunch of political stuff. And once again, like, she's just a kid, so she's like, what? Like, I don't know what this is. So it like scares her and it freaks her out, and she's like, well, that person was transphobic, and the person keeps asking her like crazy questions, and she brings it up like this person probably thinks they're an ally, but the stuff that they're like asking her is very loaded and like clearly guided towards another direction. At this time, Darcy is also experiencing experiencing is not really a good word. She's experimenting with she, they pronouns, and then eventually they, them pronouns, non-binary. Really happy about that. It's good representation. It shows that like it's usually not like overnight, because a lot of people, especially if they're in a relationship, they're scared to come out. Like, if they start cis or something else and they transition while in the relationship, they're always fearful of their partner leaving them. So I think it's good, like the pacing that she took. I'm so happy that Tara was so supportive and loving, which was kind of expected. Like, that's just the way that things are, because the actor that plays Darcy is non-binary in real life. So I'm happy that they also were able to integrate that as a storyline for Darcy and also cut their hair and do the things that they needed to do. It made me really happy. I'm like, oh, positive representation. We love to see it. Okay. Next thing, the school year has come to a close and they're trying to get more intimate. So they're planning things with their family. The mom's like, oh, as long as you get past your GCSEs, then you can do whatever you want. So they're doing their little studying, their intimacy, their bonding, their relationship stuff, and they're focusing more on their friends as well, because I guess they both came to realize, he talked about it with his therapist, like, I'm spending way too much time with Nick, like my focus is mostly only on Nick, and Nick recognized the same thing. At the same time, Nick is like touring colleges with Elle, Tara, and Imogen, right? Who was the third person? I think it was Imogen. So they're going, yeah, it was Imogen. So they're going around touring colleges, and they're like, oh, this is a local school. You sure you want to go here? Because he didn't really have any passion for it, but he just kept talking about how close it was to Charlie. So they end up going to Kent, which is, I guess, more of a prestigious school. It's not like Oxford, because that's where Tara's going to go. Tara ended up having a nervous breakdown earlier in the season, or a panic attack, because of like how much stress. Everybody keeps talking about how helpful she is, how smart she is, how perfect she is. So it created like a lot of expectations for her. I relate to that a lot. Oh, being the smart kid is not a good label. I mean, it is good because it's good for validation, but it's not good for like other people's expectations. Because then if you don't meet those expectations, they'll be disappointed in you. Okay, so moving back on, they're on this trip. They're going around the colleges, and he goes to Kent, and he's like, oh, I really like it. But, once again, because everything around his life, he feels like has to surround around Charlie, he does the thing, and he notices that it's 4 hours away, which by American standards isn't that far, but by UK standards, I guess it's like really far, like the 4-hour drive. So he's like, oh, what can I do? So he's like wondering like, oh, if I go this way, what can I do about Charlie? And they're like, you have to put yourself by you. So this is Elle who says this. She's like, you have to put yourself first at some point. Like, as much as I love Tao, like I know that my future can't be banked on my relationship. She didn't say it in that way, but it's like a very healthy standard to set. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're going to grow up. And if I don't have the school or the things that I wanted to do, I'm going to resent you later in the relationship for it, which is a good, healthy expectation to set for young people, to just show that you shouldn't bank your education on a relationship, because a lot of relationships do fail in college. I'm hoping none of them do, but that's just real life. Okay. So they're driving, and at this point, Sahar and Nick and 2 of their other friends, I'm not sure who they are. They're like side characters. Sorry. They are in a band for the school, like the end of school. Like, because I think the first year they had the pep rally, and the second year they had the trip. And then this year they're having the what is it called? The band playing. And it's like a fair. Sorry. It's like a carnival theme fair thingy. They have really cool end of year things in the UK is what I'm noticing. So they're having their end of year thingy. And, Nick, Tara, and Elle and Imogen are going to be late because they're caught in traffic. So they missed the beginning part of the performance, but they end up making it by the end, which is, all that matters. And Charlie is like, oh, thank you, da da da. He's like, I wasn't expecting you to come. Like, I'm just happy that you came. It's clear that like he needed it, but he was just being supportive. So they end up hugging, cuddling, and then they go like to the hangout session. So everybody's talking, blah blah blah, yapping. They had previously gone with Nick on the way while they're on their trip to buy like lubes and condoms. So it's like, oh, okay, they're gonna do the thing. So it's after the thing. So everybody, why did I say after the thing? After their GCSEs. So which is like the Regents test. If you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about. So they finish those, and well, I guess they only do it one time. So maybe it's not like the Regents test, because we do the Regents every year in high school. Who knows? Okay, so it's like a Regents. You can just equate it to a Regents, and they end up, going and hanging out. Everybody's talking. He helps his sister connect with her future boo thing, because they have a whole story about them. I'm hoping they get a spinoff series, because I really like the sister's actor. But he's Michael. So Michael, and I think he's like autistic coded. I'm not sure. I haven't read the story, but I think it's really cool, like his personality and the way that he acts, because it's good to have positive representation. So they're connecting. He helps them connect. She, says that she only has love for her brother because she's saving all of it because of everything that he's been through. And he's like, you don't have to do that for me anymore. Like, I have my friends that I can depend on. I want you to have friends that you like, because she does have friends, but they're not like people who she actually gets along with. It's like friendships of convenience. And yeah, that they continue to have their will they won't they moments, and they end up getting together. It's like off screen or whatever. It's not really confirmed, because she has like an issue confirming the relationship, because she wants to be able to have Charlie as her priority, which is really unhealthy, but bless her heart. They then go on to reconnect with all their partners. Everybody starts coupling up and leaving. Everybody's coupling up and leaving because they're going to, hang out, hook up, whatever. Then they go to the next scene, which is the camp over. So they're going to all camp together, like after the party. So everybody's in their tent, they're doing their thing. It's really cute. And then the next day, like the parents come back. And yeah, the next episode is like just spent on closing of talks that were happening. So stuff about the mental health, stuff about relationships with the parents, and the sex episode, which was really well done, really healthily done. It wasn't like too crazy. I was covering my eyes for it because I don't know, like I was like, oh no, like they're so innocent, like they're baby. I don't want to see this. But they didn't like show anything ridiculous, and it was just like very well done and good intimacy coordination. So yeah, now I'm just going to, spend the next couple days just watching all their interviews and filling myself up on that. So honestly, I think once again, season 1, 10 out of 10. Season 2, 10 out of 10. Season 3, 10 out of 10. I love the episodes. They're so good. They were more like longer episodes, because each season the episodes get longer. It's still only 8 episodes, but it was so fulfilling. I'm hoping next year, like when they release the next season, it'll be like hour-long episodes. I know I'm asking for a lot, but it's really good. I really love Heartstopper. It's so healing, because like to see that like positive queer representation, those different dynamics of love and boundaries and communication. I like the storyline that Isaac had. I like that each like season he gets more and more screen time, because like they talked about like the Ace Arrow. They talk about trans people, non-binary people, lesbians, gays, everybody that runs the gamut for LGBTQI expression. I think they even have like a gender fluid person. So it's very nice. It's like such a community episode. Like I can watch this and be like, yes, there's like positive queer representation that's not all about trauma and struggle and pain and people dying. I just love it. So if you have not watched Heartstopper, I suggest you do. I'm just pushing, that LGBTQIA agenda. Please watch it. It's so good. Every single season is really, really good. I'm going to try and include clips to see if, Netflix will let me, because I know you can't really screenshot or screen record on Netflix like you can on other applications. I'll try my best to include them. But, that's all I'm going to say for now. I'll probably add in some more stuff with voiceovers. But for now, I'm going to say peace. Bye-bye. Dun, 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 dun.